Hey everybody, I just realized what I did there. Sorry about that. I just realized it says Snow Talk. I put the wrong frame in. Hey, for snow lovers, bots. All right, for next year probably. Although I will say this before I get into this nasty stuff, there is a chance for some colder weather. End of the first week of April, 7th or 8th, somewhere around there, and one of the models is hinting at snowflakes. I'll leave it at that for now. I'll address that after I get through the stress of this system. We've had the clouds increasing today. We made it 77 degrees, but let me explain the setup here. There's been obviously a lot of discussion about how this is going to play out, and a lot of the model data can be alarming. But when you have to just trust model data, that's dangerous because they are automatically flawed at times. So we have to always keep that in the back of our mind. So we have to take the model data, take in consideration what normally happens here, and put the two together and come up with a consistent idea of a forecast. And that's kind of how we're approaching this system, because it is a classic deal of do we destabilize or not. And to put this in perspective, it's very similar to when we have warm fronts that come through and they get hung up over their area. A lot of times if we are facing the potential for afternoon sunshine and severe weather to break out, the question is, does the warm front move on by or does it get stuck over us? We've seen the warm front scenario many times here where they do get stuck over us. This is a situation, though, where the warm front is already past us. All right, we're in the warm sector. Now it's a matter, do we clear out and get some sunshine, and do we have the ingredients all match up at the right times and to produce severe weather? And that's kind of where the models are having a tough time. This activity is tonight's activity. Although the trend has been for a lot of this activity to focus itself more over southern areas of Indiana tonight, and it'll take a while to get it into a good chunk of wave country, especially on the Kentucky side of the Ohio. You guys likely will be last. You may see a brief downpour from this activity that is surging north, but most areas will probably miss out on the heavier rain the way this is looking. That is significant because that will also play a role in tomorrow. Back to the west, it is active. Tornado warnings are out. A lot of different isolated supercells breaking out. This activity, the worst of it, is going to track more to the east than it is in the north. It will weaken and become more elevated as it tracks in our direction. That will likely cause it to be more of a heavy rain threat than anything. We'll talk more about that in a few moments, but I do want to mention that the cold front, which is our main headache for tomorrow, is way back here into Kansas. And this is the one we're going to be watching, but it doesn't move through here until about 24 hours from now. So that's a long window of opportunity for that front to take advantage of our area. Now for tonight, the severe risk enhanced across the Arklatex area. Severe risk, a slight risk off to the north. Then for tomorrow, our viewing area is kind of divided up. We've got a marginal far east, slight risk locally, and an enhanced risk in our far western sections. Why is it there and not over us? Well, at the time they drew the map, it was based on a lot of the midday data that indicated that we would be either capped or we would take longer to clear out along I-65. This area would have more heating to take advantage of, and combining that with the wind shear, your greatest severe potential would be found here, and that's why it's an enhanced risk. Although I will say, I am a little concerned that the idea that the rain this evening and overnight may not be widespread, so our main issue is going to be clouds early in the morning, and that shouldn't take much at all for the wind fields to really break them up. So if I had to guess, I would think the enhanced risk may get pushed more to the east, but may not necessarily go through Louisville. Let me explain the setup here. Here is the RPM in-house model that we have. And between now and say 4 o'clock in the morning, you see the main focus of the rain that repeats itself. So you guys across Indiana can easily pick up, an inch of rain out of this tonight, while a lot of you in Kentucky may not even get a drop through 4 a.m. That is a possibility. Now, we're going to word the forecast as rain increasing because that's generally what we're talking about for a lot of you. But I want to make you aware that the viewing area could be divided up out of this. Again, not severe weather expected out of this batch. Now, here we go with tomorrow morning at, say, 7, 8 o'clock. The rain moves out of here quick. By the time we get to 11 o'clock, we're already in sunshine across Kentucky. That's not good news. That'll allow for the heating to take place. That's when we begin to jump up well into the 70s. In fact, upper 70s can't be ruled out. But as you'll see in a few moments, we're going to begin to get supercell type activity that will try to develop and take advantage of that sunny, warm, moist atmosphere that we'll have develop over the area. So we'll begin to see those cells break out across central Kentucky, according to RPM. And then we may have another round with the actual front, but it's a broken line of supercells. It probably be more of a Boeing segment type of activity. I don't see this going into a complete squall line. There's not a lot of strong indication that will happen, but the cells may become more linear along the front. What you notice here, there is a chance some of you, and it may even be Louisville, and this is important to point out, may be missed entirely from the severe thunderstorm activity if it were to develop. It's not a sure bet. It's not a sure bet that it'll develop to begin with because of the cloud rain potential that could mess up the heating. But then even if it does develop, it's not a guarantee for everybody tomorrow. That's important to point out that because some of you may get missed. Lucky you. Hopefully it'll be you. And you'll miss out on the worst of the storms. You may get hardly anything out of this entire event. That's a possibility. It wouldn't surprise me. So we want to make sure that you're informed, you're prepared and aware, but don't be alarmed. Not yet. We don't see a reason to go into a panic scenario, or we never really see a reason for that. We don't want you to ever feel like you need to alter your plans or anything like that. I know you're worried about your kids going to school. We're not to that point by any stretch. Just be aware. We're going to update the app. We're going to send out alerts as well through this entire event as we get more data on this. But just stay informed, stay close to the forecast because it is changing every time we get a round of data to come through. And we're going to try our best to analyze that and get that out to you guys as quickly as possible. Now, having said that, if you want to keep watching the video, I'm now going to dive into the details of the science on this a little bit more. Here is the high-res NAM model for tomorrow afternoon. Now, it does hint at a few cells popping in the heat of the day, more organized cells across the boot hill of Kentucky, and along the front, a line of supercells in Illinois. So you can kind of see why the enhanced risk was originally drawn in this area. It kind of would fit the initiating part of where the storms would develop. Then we head into the evening. Still have supercells to talk about. This is why I think we could see the enhanced get pushed into central Tennessee and Kentucky based on that idea. Indiana, you have better shear, but I'm not sure on your instability ideas just yet, so we'll watch that carefully. But notice that purple. You can see that purple showing up. On a high-res model this far out, this tells you large hail is going to be a problem. Also, when the high-res model can pick out the outflow boundaries already on the radar, future radar, that's impressive to get that idea. Now, are these storms going to be exactly where they're showing up here? Probably not, but it gives us an idea of the mode of storm potential, and this is telling us it would be cellular and perhaps supercells. So large hail is always a threat with supercells, and yes, there will be a tornado threat. How much of one? Can't answer that just yet. These cells become more organized as the front moves down, and these are more supercells in a linear fashion, but this is the actual front and a few cells along it, and then they move out. Now, here's the NAM sounding for tonight. I want to point out that tonight, look how wind, this is a profile looking at ground level, looking straight up. Red line's temperature, green is dew point. These are your wind speeds. Once you get into the pinks and purples there, you're talking about some serious wind. Really strong winds aloft. But we don't have any cape or instability for the thunderstorms to build into that and tap into it and shove it down to the ground. That's good, because and that nocturnal timing is helping us out on that. But if we were facing daytime events, I'd be a little more concerned about this profile. Now let's move ahead to tomorrow afternoon. Now the NAM model is indicating there could be a little bit of a cap that could develop, and that is possible. If we get really warm tomorrow, hit 80 degrees, a cap could develop, but it doesn't look to be a strong cap. But it does indicate that we'll become quite unstable. If you see a lot of red showing up here on the indices, not a good thing. Here is the GFS in contrast. It is cooler, not necessarily wetter in the morning hours, but it keeps the clouds around for a while. And therefore it creates a more stable profile compared to the NAM, but still unstable. It indicates a weak tornado potential. Highs generally in the upper 60s to 70 instead of near 80. So the GFS is the calmer idea. The NAM is more extreme. So I think it's going to be probably somewhere in the middle. I don't want to discount either model because either one of these could still be right. Either end of this, the spectrum here. But there's no need to go panicky yet on this because there's too many unanswered questions. And as I've said for this event since the beginning of it, this is a nowcast situation. We're going to have to wait until the day of and get real good balloon data that is launched into the system to really know how this is going to play out. To show the range of possibilities, this is the unstable parameter or the CAPE from the Schröff model. This is about 1,500 CAPEs. This is about 2,000, and this is 500. And if you look here, what we're looking at is, if my cursor will work, there it is. If we look at the black line, that is the average of all the different model ideas within the Schröff. It is ranging from a nearly stable, certainly much more stable than the NAM, a potential less than 500 CAPE. That's not a whole lot. The average of that is roughly about 800 to 900, maybe 1,000. and the extreme on the other side is about 2,000. So you see the huge range of possibilities because the clouds and if rain in the area could alter the extreme parameter of that. So this is something to monitor. I think we're going to see some changes in the SPC outlook. It'll come out at 2 a.m. and I think we're going to see some changes to the timing and the mode and type of precipitation, storm potential tomorrow evening. So this is not done to be. This is not even close to being finalized by any stretch. So stay close to the forecast. Kevin will have an update at 11, and of course Christy will tomorrow morning on sunrise. I'll see you tomorrow.